JFD, just fair and direct.
Okay, hello and good morning everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Espresso with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today's the 1st of August 2022. So yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome to this Monday's morning session. Also welcome to the first trading day of the month. So yeah guys, before we do anything, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, I'll give you a few seconds to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so now then, also just before we jump into the charts, just a quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos, and of course our JFDbrokers.com website, which you can check out, and I believe you can find some useful information right there. So, okay, first of all, guys, I do apologize for kind of not running the three videos last week on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. Fortunately, I was a little bit ill. So yeah, now should be back on track. But yeah, hope you didn't miss me too much. But anyway, we're hopefully everything is now better, back on track, and yeah, let's start off with Nikkei as always. So Nikkei 225. So basically, last week, as you can see here, this idea that I talked about, I said that look, I mean, it might retrace a little bit lower, maybe test one of these levels, or maybe or this 200-day EMA, or basically as long as it stays above this 200-day EMA, then yes, there is still potential for this one to reverse back up and push towards the upper side of the range where the index is currently trading in. So at the moment, I would say yes, I am still monitoring this potential ideas of a range. Well, to be honest, not even already a potential, already a true idea that this is a range. And the question here is now where this will break out to. Will it be a push through the upper side of this this range, or will we actually end up breaking, below the lower side of the range? So I mean, traveling back all the way back down here. So at the moment, if you're looking for some upside, I would say yes, everything's still pointing nicely to the upside. I would say this was a good indication here. The high of the 22nd of July, which is around that 27,952 territory, we pushed through it. Last week we flirted with that area, but failed to stay above it. Today we made a nice move higher and closed above it. So this kind of increases our chances of seeing Nikkei traveling towards the upper side of the range. Now, in terms of the downside, I would actually still prefer to wait for a drop below that 200-day EMA, and then yes, we could go nicely to the downside right there. So yeah, let's keep that in mind. Hong Kong's Hang Seng index, yeah, this one is drifting nicely to the downside, I would say here. So we're still, unlike Nikkei, yes, Hong Kong's Hang Seng is moving to the downside, and so far it's working also according to the plan. Now, these two are a little bit not aligned, I would say, but yeah, at the moment I'm just going from what I see here, and at the moment, yes, this looks a little bit more bearish than bullish, and the fact that it dropped and stayed below that 20,216 territory right there, that of course gives it a bit more kind of a bit more support for the downside scenario. So yeah, at the moment I'm leaning towards the downside. For the upside, I would need to see a break at least of this downside line here, taken from the high of the 28th of June. If we push through it, then yes, my next target will be this other downside line, which could play out nicely here. But yeah, overall, let's not forget that any move higher up until this downside line, the big one here, the one drawn from the high of the 28th of June, is still classed as any move higher up until that line classed as a temporary correction before another possible leg of selling. So at the moment I'm looking at everything short term. Now the Australian ASX 200. Look at this beautiful move, guys. I mean, honestly, there we go. We broke out through this downside line, and if you remember a while ago when I was talking about this, initially I was talking about these levels here. So yep, I said that look, if we break these, then yes, this could open the door to its higher levels, and yes, it did. It did move nicely to the upside, and then we had a beautiful breakout right here, and my target was reached, the 6,920. We even overshot that, but that's okay. And we also moved above the 100-day EMA. Look, I mean, now I would say we can get rid of this downside line, no longer needed, but we will redraw it, and we'll redraw this steeper upside line here. And yep, it's the moment, it's the one to keep an eye on. So if you're looking for some downside maybe, then wait at least for a break of this upside line. If you're looking for some more upside, I would say as long as this continues to trade above the 6,920 territory, there is good potential for this one to move higher and end up testing the 200-day EMA right here, which is slightly above the psychological 7,000 mark. We're not far from that 7,000 mark, by the way, as well. So, but yep, if we first, of course, the main target is the psychological level, the 7,000 area. And then we will aim for that 200-day EMA, which could be an interesting target. For the downside, as I said, I need to see a break of this upside line, and then I'll consider maybe a bit of a retracement. However, then, yes, we will aim lower, but we'll aim for the 21-day EMA here, and then we'll take it from there. Now jumping into the German index DAX, and yeah, this one moved nicely through this barrier, through this area, through this highlighted territory. And if you remember last week, in the beginning of last week, I was talking about this. I said, look, this might end up being as a bullish flag, and well, this is what we kind of got. So that's quite excited about myself in here, if I can say it this way. But yeah, good result here, I would say. But the only thing is that this is only part of that good result. So let's see if this can continue pushing higher, because as I said to you before, that my next target is the 100-day EMA right here, and not far from that 13,750 zone. So long story short, again, I am leaning towards the upside still. I'm only aiming for now for this towards this 100-day EMA, and like I said, this is 13,750 zone. I get it, there is some potential for a further move higher. I mean, because we do have this downside line, which could play out also nicely. We do have the 200-day EMA, which also could be attractive, an attractive target. But let's yeah, be kind of on the careful side here a little bit. Let's go slowly, not rush into anything. We're going right now. We're going for that higher high. The cash index currently is sitting at around 13,470 territory, something like that. So yeah, not far from where it closed on Friday, and yeah, but still above this whole highlighted territory. So let's, like I said, as long as we continue to trade above it, then yes, there is a good, strong kind of potential for this one to move higher. Now, in terms of the downside on this one, if it falls below this highlighted territory right there, I'm not gonna become very bearish, no, because there's still hope maybe to rebound from the 21-day EMA again. But if it starts breaking the 21-day EMA and maybe falls somewhere below this territory, below that 13,000 mark, guys, then that's where, yes, where I'm gonna get a little bit more excited with the downside scenario. Now jumping into Dow Jones Industrial Average very quickly, so also good performance at the end of last week. So basically, when I couldn't run my videos, the market was nicely rallying here on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And as I mentioned to you before, when I was talking about this index, and because as you can see by the arrow here, I said that look, I'm keeping an eye on this whole territory here. If we clear it, this area between the 32,053 and the 32,254 levels, if we clear that and we stay above it somehow, then I'll go further north. My next target is the 200-day EMA together with the 33,272 mark right there, which is the highest point of June. It's not far from that 200-day EMA, as I said. That's going to be my my main target for now. The cash index right now is sitting at around, let me just quickly double check that. It's excuse me. Is sitting at around 32,735, something like that. So okay, so not far from where we closed. Not far from where we closed on Friday, so everything's still okay. I would say not something to be afraid of, but yeah, at the moment I am only aiming for that 200-day EMA. Okay, guys, sorry for going quiet there a little bit. I had to clear up my throat. Okay, so the S&P 500. So looking at this picture here, previously I talked about this potential maybe idea of a rising channel. Initially it was working out, but then it broke the upper side, so now we can ignore all that and actually we can redraw this a little bit this way. So at the moment, yes, I am aiming for the upside. I am aiming higher, and my next target here is this 200-day EMA as well, which is roughly around that 4,188 zone. The cash index right now is sitting at around 4,115 territory, so again below Friday's close, but still above this 100-day EMA. So in a way, everything's still kind of pointing a little bit more towards the upside. Similarly, as with the Dow, we are aiming for this area. Yes, as I said before, the 200-day EMA, and also this 4,177, 78 territory, approximately around there, which is the highest point of June. That's going to be my level, my aim for now. If we clear that, yes, okay, great, we'll go higher, but let's not forget that we're still trading below this downside line taken from the high of the 4th of January. In terms of the downside, now I would, of course, the same kind of game plan here. A break of this upside line is needed. This shorter term one, this taken from the low of the 14th of July. If we break this one, if we drop below it, then yeah, this is where it may attract a few more sellers into the game, and especially if we also drop below this 21-day EMA. So yeah, just for that extra confirmation. DXY dollar index, there we go. Broke the upside line last week, and yeah, we're drifting lower now right now. So I would say, as I mentioned to you before, that look, I'm keeping an eye on this 105.79 territory right there. It's currently acting as a good area of support. I need to see another drop below it in order to go lower. My next target here will be this upside line taken from the low of the 10th of February. And then we will take it from there, basically, because again, maybe this could be part of a larger correction before another possible leg of buying. But yeah, I mean, we cannot really assume too much here in advance. At the moment, I am going from what I see here. We dropped below this upside line. We dropped below the 21-day EMA, and we're flirting with this key support zone right now. This 105.79. If we drop below this again, then yes, further declines are possible. In terms of the upside, I'm still sticking to the same idea. I need to see a push above this 107.48 level right here in order for me to get a little bit more excited with higher levels. Gold, okay. A very nice hold up here, and so far it's working out. So what I said before to you guys, that look, I mean, if we start clearing some of these levels, I mean, I was talking about this, and then yeah, we could go higher. My next target was this downside line, which we managed to reach perfectly. So mission accomplished, or I should say partially, because the whole kind of mission is to see a move back down here. We need to see this downside line, for example, holding, and I will say, yeah, we could go lower, but I would prefer to wait for a drop below this 1744 territory in order to be a little bit more on the safe side, because here, let's say at this little area below this downside line, but still above the 21-day EMA and above that 1744 level, if it continues to trade somewhere around here, then there is still potential for this one to move, back to the upside. However, if we drop back below this, more sellers could join in here, because we would be below all of the EMAs again, and well, this could open the door towards nicely towards the downside. Of course, we can start looking at something like this here, like an upside line, which in a way, to be honest, could also play out perfectly. So both of if all these factors work out here for the sellers, like a break of this upside line, a break of the 21-day EMA, and a break below the 1744 territory, yes, this could open the door towards lower levels, guys. So that's why this whole area here is a little bit tricky for me, so I'm just gonna watch it, just observe it, and then yeah, well, I'm gonna do something about it. Now WTI oil. Okay, WTI oil. This one is interesting because it seems to be willing to travel higher again. However, it's struggling with these 21-day and the 100-day EMA. Now, looking at this picture, let's say maybe something more of a medium term. This is for me where I'm gonna probably pull out my crystal ball, and I'm gonna try to predict the future. And basically here, what's interesting is that although maybe the bulls are looking at this one as maybe as a potential entry point here, which could be the case. For example, we could still see a move higher here, but this highlighted territory for me is going to be quite an important one. Not to mention, of course, the 100 level itself, and that's going to be something to watch. And another thing, in general, I am leaning more towards the downside later on, because, well, if let's say we're just going from the technical perspective, we could be forming on a bigger picture here. We could be forming maybe something of a descending triangle. Maybe it's more of like a veg type of triangle. So that's why I'm kind of this is one of those factors that kind of is putting my mind towards the downside here. Also, another thing is that, look, we have been, if we evaluate the EMAs, if we just go from the the rules of EMA crossings, and which I don't know if you follow, you don't follow. I sometimes look at this, sometimes don't. It really depends. So that's why you cannot really fully depend on one indicator or one some sort of thing here. It sometimes doesn't work out as it is in the textbooks, but of course we refer to that, and we still kind of keep that in mind. So there's a lot of things you always need to keep in mind. So unfortunately, that's trading. So what I wanted to say is that, look, we have dropped below this. We crossed below the 21-day EMA, crossed below the 100-day EMA. So yep, it's I would say it could be a bearish indication. However, the 21-day EMA has not crossed the 200-day EMA yet. So because because we could have a scenario that we had like here, for example, where in the beginning of December we saw that crossing, everything is like, everybody was like, oh, okay, let's start selling. Yes, managed to capture somewhat, but then it started recovering, and then look what happened. It crossed back above the 21 above the 100 EMA and started pushing higher again. So that's one of those moments, guys, where you know, this is where it might be confusing and might not work out. So I'm not rushing into anything yet, so that's why, I mean, I'm keeping this in mind, one of those factors. But if we start, let's say, dropping below the 200-day EMA, if the 21-day EMA starts dropping below the 200-day EMA, now that's where, yep, potentially could open the door towards lower levels. Also, I would say keep your eyes on some of the levels as well. So for me, the same level is still valid. This 93, 93.56, roughly around there, guys. It's never the specific number. It's just approximately, because look, I mean, this whole area. That's why I mark it this way. I kind of mark not the level but the area around it, and that's why we could see, yeah, if we get a nice drop below it and we stay below it, then yes, further declines could be possible. And also, look, I said, yeah, keep your eyes on the potential maybe crossing of the 21-day EMA, and maybe later on we'll see the 100-day EMA also crossing that, you know, that 200-day EMA. Who knows? But again, let's wait and see. Something for you, some food for thought. So yep, something for you to consider. If we push through this highlighted territory that I just extended, which is between the 104.44 and the 105.21 levels, if we cross through this, then yes, I will consider a larger move to the down, to the upside, and then we'll take it from there. But at the moment, from the shorter term perspective, I am keeping an eye on this hurdle, this 99.95, or in general that 100-day, 100 level. A nice good push through that 21-day EMA as well could attract a few more buyers. Now the crypto world. Okay, so good push in the beginning of last week, but again, this barrier somehow provided good resistance, the 24,287. And if we're looking for some, upside, I would say that's the level to watch for now. Let me just probably highlight that very quickly for us here. Yep, it'll be a little bit easier. There we go. So, long story short, and if we push through this highlighted territory, then yes, I'll go for the upside. I'll go for that 100-day EMA, and yep, and then we'll kind of go. We'll take it from there. If we break this upside line, this short-term tentative upside support line taken from the low of the 13th of July, then yes, I'll consider maybe a bit of a move to the downside. But again, we do have some other tentative upside lines, so a lot of things here as well to consider. So yeah, don't rush into anything. Like I said, at the moment, the crypto world is still not the most attractive one, but you know, we did have a bit of a rebound. Maybe that's what, you know, will start, you know, attracting more investors. But actually, on the bigger picture, you know, it's just not ready. I think that to go higher. But again, let's not, you know, over speculate too much on this one, because look, I mean, if we're just going from the technical perspective, I mean, you can see that, for example, we have, let me just grab this. There we go. So we could still go higher, but you know, this is something to keep in mind, that we are still below this downside line taken from the high of the 10th of November of last year. So yeah, we could go higher, but you know, that's why I'm only aiming somewhere till around here. Jumping into a few pairs, guys, very quickly before I run out of time. I'll talk about the pairs which I've covered before, let's say on my last video. So AUDCHF, I was talking about this idea of a possible ascending triangle. This is one of those good moments, good examples where you need to kind of wait until you get that real confirmation, because look, we had 4 false breakouts. And again, this is not really work. Yes, it did, attract a few buyers. I mean, but never the candle, the body of the daily candle never stayed above this barrier. We only had those false breakouts, but never stayed above it. So that's a bad indication, bearish indication. Look what we're getting right now. We're getting a drop below this upside line, drop below this 21-day EMA. So I'm leaning more towards the downside right now, near towards the 0.6594 level right here. With the upside, I still need to see a push above this barrier, and I would like to see the pair staying above that area. AUD USD, guys. So this one's a little bit tricky because this one's looking a little bit more positive than negative. However, yes, the downside line, not this one. Let me get rid of this one. The downside line worked as a nice trampoline here because yes, we had a correction here on Friday. We dropped lower. We almost tested the 21-day EMA and reversed back to the upside, and now we are kind of still staying above this 0.6977 level that I talked about previously. So this area is now acting as a good area of support. So if we continue to trade above it, then yes, my next target is the 100-day EMA or this 200-day EMA, and so on. If we continue to travel higher, then certainly yes, I will end up targeting this highest point of June. But let's get to that point. Let's get first to at least to the 100-day EMA, and then we'll go kind of from there. At the moment, yes, like I said, I'm leaning more towards the upside, as long as it stays above this area, above this 0.6977 territory. For the downside, I'm going to take a very conservative approach and wait for a drop below this area right here, the 0.6854 area, somewhere around here. USDCAD, guys, very quickly on that one. So it continues to drift lower, and look at this. I mean, USDCAD is my second least favorite pair to trade, but I still do look at it. My first least favorite pair is EURUSD. I mean, that one has a mind of its own, but hey, if you can trade it, congratulations. I mean, you're doing much better than me in that sense. But anyway, with the USDCAD. USDCAD here, yes, it's also very tricky. However, it somehow at least sticks to some rules and sticks to some, kind of levels and support and resistance levels. So yeah, for example, when I previously talked about this, I said, look, if it drops and stays below this area, this highlighted territory, then yeah, we could go lower. It did so. It did had a bit of a moment here, but then yeah, it eventually kind of figured out what it wants to do. It wants to go lower, and it drifted lower, but then it did had some retracements. And look at this. I mean, it just kind of went back to that 1.2860 territory and kind of held here and then drifted back down. So now we're sitting comfortably below this 100-day EMA. It's acting right now as a good resistance, so I'm leaning towards the 200-day EMA right now. Not where the arrow is showing, but this is my ideal scenario, but at the moment I'm just aiming for that 200-day EMA. GBPUSD, very quickly on that one before I run out of time. So yep, nothing. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one, but you can see it yourself. Previously I talked about this idea. I said, look, I mean, if this downside line continues to provide resistance, and we could see a slide, but we would prefer actually to wait for a break of this upside line. Basically similar as with gold, actually a similar picture here, and that's why I'm saying that wait for that confirmation break. We got here on GBPUSD, we got a breakout through this downside line, and we're still sitting above it. So there is hope that we could see a nice move higher, and at the moment I would say that I'm gonna stick to the upside as long as it stays above these two trend lines. If it starts dropping somewhere below this area, below this 1.2056, that's where I'm gonna aim lower. GBPCAD, very quickly, we are at a nice spot here. Let's see what's going to happen here. Can we break this downside line taken from the high of the 14th of April or not? Well, at the moment, I would say I'm just observing this. I don't want to rush into anything here, but if we do break this downside line, then yes, I'll go higher, a little bit higher. But if we basically start falling back below this territory, somewhere below this 1.5544 area, then yeah, I will aim for the downside. And finally, EURUSD. This one is a tragedy, to be honest, for me. I mean, not that I'm trading it. No, it's just that I'm looking at it and it's not really doing much. So it's just kind of really hugging this or kind of knocking on the door of this 21-day EMA, and nobody is opening. There are a few kind of quick visits out above this 21-day EMA, but at the end it still ends up moving back down. So of course this just proves how important this 21-day EMA is for this pair. But again, if you're on the buy side, then well, I feel sorry for you guys. I mean, it's being probably very frustrating on this one. However, on the downside, it's also not a very interesting game here, because you're looking at I'm looking at this 1.0122 territory, but yeah, it keeps on flirting with it, but not really doing much. So I will say this way, that I will continue monitoring the upside. If we finally manage to stay above that 21-day EMA, I'll go higher, a little bit higher, only up until this downside line, taken from the high of the 10th of February. If we drop below this area, below this 1.0122, and stay below it, I'll lean a little bit more towards the downside, guys, and I'll be a little bit more bearish, and then I'll aim for these July lows. So guys, that's it for this session. I really hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for joining in and watching this video till the end. I really appreciate your time, guys, your views, your likes, your comments, everything. I do appreciate all that. So thank you very much. I hope you're all, feeling refreshed after the weekend, ready to enter the market. And yeah, I hope you have your stop losses in place, guys. And I'll see you tomorrow. And yeah, as always, everything will be fine. Thank you very much. Yeah, bye-bye.